Hello, and welcome to my channel, The Existential Real. In this episode, I'll be exploring the themes, critiques, and philosophical leanings of the 2019 science fantasy film Vivarium. While the film hasn't garnered the same critical acclaim as other entries in the psychological surrealism genre, I believe Vivarium blends creepy dream logic with a layered allegorical critique of the human condition and morality, in forging a narrative that is as bone-chilling as it is thought-provoking. This film doesn't just leave you asking, what does this movie mean? But also, what does this movie mean for us? That's what this movie meant to me. And so, my objective in this video essay is to share those contemplations with you, the viewer, and hopefully inspire you to ruminate on your own meaning behind the celluloid. With that said, let's dive into Vivarium. The film opens with the life cycle of a cuckoo bird, a brood parasite whose survival strategy involves laying her egg in the nest of an unsuspecting surrogate mother bird. When the cuckoo's hatchling emerges, it dispatches of its caregiver's offspring and hijacks its surrogate mother's maternal instincts to care for the young in her nest. This stark, morally grey glimpse into the natural order primes the viewer for the film's central tension, the conflict between nature and morality, between the world as it is and how it ought to be. When the casualty of the cuckoo's reproductive strategy is shown to the film's protagonist, Gemma, we witness how people attempt to reconcile nature's cruelty with our moral intuitions. Gemma's response,
because that's nature, that's just the way things are,
echoes a familiar worldview. This is what philosophers call the appeal to nature, the idea that what is natural is inherently acceptable. It's a heuristic that helps us make sense of the violence we witness in the animal kingdom. But this logic falters when we try to apply it to ourselves. Humans are a part of nature just as much as any other animal. So what happens when nature's cruelty is turned onto us? Should we just accept it because that's just the way things are? It's a question humanity seldom confronts because we sit on top of the natural order. We dictate the terms of our interactions with nature. In the film, Gemma's attitude, a reflection of our own anthropocentric worldview, is soon tested when she and her partner Tom encounter humanity's equivalent of the cuckoo bird. While house hunting, the couple meets Martin, an unsettling, peculiar real estate agent who serves as the film's metaphorical cuckoo. Martin belongs to an alien species that, like the cuckoo, reproduces by hijacking people's, not animals', natural instincts. In this case, it's the human tendency to pair off, move to the suburbs, and raise a family that Martin seeks to exploit. Unbeknownst to them, Gemma and Tom have been selected to become the unwitting hosts in Martin's brood parasitic reproductive cycle. The parallel is chilling, but also an intriguing thought experiment that tests our intuitions around the appeal to nature and our moral judgments of animals. What happens when a creature with a striking resemblance to humans rely on our exploitation for its very survival as a species? Enamored by the outward appearance of homely tranquility, Martin lures Gemma and Tom into Yonder, a new suburban development, or so it seems. In actuality, Yonder is a prison made by Martin's species to make humans feel at home. Yonder is a vivarium for us. And similar to how Martin's mannerisms and attempts at mimicry invokes an unease and revulsion in us.
No, and not yet.
No, not yet.
Yonder too exists within the sensory uncanny valley. Yonder is a trippy conjuring, a seemingly infinite, non-Euclidean suburb where the streets loop impossibly, the skies never change, and the architecture replicates endlessly. It's suburbia stripped of meaning, space without depth, a dreamscape turned liminal nightmare. But from Martin's species' perspective, from their skeletal understanding of humanity, yonder makes perfect sense. Yonder represents suburbia, and suburbia is humanity's natural habitat. After all, suburbia is our carefully manicured ecosystem, where we instinctively retreat to raise our young. And so, in suburbia's likeness, the aliens constructed their vivarium for us, a haunting simulation of domestic bliss in which humans can raise children that aren't their own. The aliens' selection of suburbia for their vivarium raises an evocative question. To what extent is living the American dream, which is what yonder simulates, an actual lifestyle choice we actively make, or just the universal aspect of our nature, an inescapable echo of an ancient biological script? Why else do we all follow the same predictable trajectory in life? Marrying partners we grow to resent, settling in homes that feel like cages, and living performative lives to appease people we don't even care for. Why do we shoulder the burden of parenthood, only to have our children rob us of our agency? If this path truly is our choice, then for many, if not most, it's a masochistic one. The plausible explanation is that marriage, parenthood, and suburban sedentary living aren't lifestyle choices made to maximize our happiness, but are rather the product of our instinctive wiring to propagate the next generation. We may just be instinctively driven to behave in ways that advance child rearing, even if doing so consigns us to a miserable existence. It makes you wonder just how much of our misery is an irreducible aspect of the human condition. Regardless, it is this hardwired tendency to live and procreate in suburban settings that the aliens exploit. Show the humans yonder, and their instincts will compel them to come. Give them our children, and their instincts will compel them to raise it. Just as the cuckoo exploits the instincts of its host, Martin exploits ours. The truth is, we don't need to reproduce, remain in relationships that wear us down, or keep up with the Joneses in living in confined spaces that suffocate us. We're simply made to feel as though we have to. And unless we rise above that instinct, we can never fully grasp the consequences of our life or our reproductive choices, which is unfortunately a lesson that Gemma and Tom learned tragically too late. Once trapped in yonder, the next phase of Martin's reproductive cycle unfolds. Gemma and Tom must raise Martin's offspring, a boy who, like Martin, resembles humanity only externally. And raising the boy reveals to the viewer just how unlike these creatures are from us. In thought, manner, and speech, they are truly alien. The boy's insatiable drive to mimic human behavior is an unsettling and soulless performance, like a parrot reciting words without knowledge of their meaning. Biology indeed has honed these creatures in the ignoble art of dispassionately deceiving us. It is in their nature to exploit us. In their roles as unwilling parents, Gemma and Tom descend into simmering resentment, boredom, madness, and alienation, first from their circumstances, and then from each other. Their lives, defined by confinement, deprivation, and cuckoldry, mirrors the quiet despair many experience in their roles as parents and spouses. Even people deeply in love with one another need some space, some autonomy from each other. Yet out of a fear of loneliness, herd conformity, a loss of control, or insecurity, we enforce mental and physical proximity on the ones we care for, even if it gnaws at our well-being. So it's tragically ironic that as forlorn as yonder is, it's still a place that many of us seek refuge in, not because we want to, but because we feel we need to. A striking pattern emerges in Tom's obsessive digging. To Gemma's confusion, he begins evacuating the yard, fixated on the innocuous clay beneath the surface and the voices only he can hear. This development unveils a deeper truth. Tom's digging and Gemma's increasingly inappropriate caregiving illustrates a gendered polarity in human nature. Tom is a man. He's compelled to act, to do something, even if it's just digging his own grave. While Gemma, a woman, driven to care and nurture, becomes maternally attached to a child that isn't hers. Both are driven by instinct, and both are futile in their respective contexts. This continues until the boy reaches adulthood. The man outgrows his nest and his family, ready to claim his role in the next generational iteration of his species. As for Tom and Gemma, they are sick, broken, and worn down by their synthetic environment. They die as soon as the proverbial bird leaves the nest. Mirroring human mortality, similar to how parents lose their sense of purpose when their nest is empty, Tom dies first, and grief-stricken Gemma dies soon after. Here, the parallels with human parenting are especially painful. All too often, parents give everything for their children, only to be unceremoniously cast aside when their children gain independence. The audience is left to reflect on how the extraordinarily high cost of parenthood is matched only by how anticlimactically disappointing its reward can be. If the road to parenthood leads to this, then why walk that road? Why die on that hill? Having discarded his human caretakers, the man discards his decrepit father in similar fashion, and so begins his life ensnaring the next couple. And so the cycle continues, again and again and again. Life for life's sake. The existential undercurrent is unmistakable. After all that, what was the point of it all? What is the point of it all? If you're looking for meaning to your life, perhaps nature isn't the wise starting point. The film's conclusion on meaning making and nature is bleak and leaves no room for resolution. This is just nature. This is just how it is. And so we are left to contemplate. We live our lives driven by biological drive, which is reducible to reproduction for its own sake. And in terms of our usual tendency to appeal to nature, morality cannot protest against nature's abhorrent machinery as it grinds forward, even when we are the victims crushed beneath its gears. Which leads me to a final philosophical question I want to leave you with. If nature cannot be morally judged for the wrongdoing it's ordained to commit, if it simply is, and if humans are just another part of nature, then should humans be judged for what we do to each other? If I steal from you, or hurt you, can I not just appeal to my nature as an animal doing what it was programmed to do? If nature is beyond moral judgment, then am I not as well? I'd love to hear your counter-arguments or agreements in the comment section. Thank you for watching. I hope this video essay helped spark some existential questions of your own, and maybe brought clarity, or better yet mystification, to your worldview. After all, the pleasure is in looking for answers, not finding them. Keep climbing your hill, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.